Hello and welcome back to my channel where I like to have fun with all things beauty while being critical about what I accept into my collection. Today I am doing my favorites in every category. So I'm going to go through a full face of makeup section by section, and I'm going to talk about what my favorite in that category is. And I'm going to talk about what I recommend picking up during this Sephora sale, what I think is and isn't worth it. And for the most part, a full face of makeup that is my favorite can be found at Sephora, but in a few categories that's not the case. So I will mention that when that comes up. Also, when that does come up, I will mention what that item is so you can look for it in other sales, because let's be real, there's a ton of other sales happening right now, sometimes better than the Sephora sale. So I will be including that when it comes up. And as always, I have timestamps below. So if I'm talking about like foundation for dry skin, for example, and you have oily skin, you don't have to sit through that. You can easily navigate through it. In editing, I realized that I totally forgot to mention the Sephora inside Kohl's has the same sale, and I know that this can really come in handy if things sell out. Obviously, the Sephora in Kohl's is much smaller. They don't have the same extensive inventory, but they do get a lot of the more popular things. So I know in the past that I have been able to find things there. Sometimes I've had to go in person. It's not necessarily always available to order, but they should tell you if it's in stock in the store near you. So I wanted to mention that. Also, in the case of things running out, other retailers sometimes offer competitive sales for certain items, so it is worth keeping an eye out for that. I don't know that anything's going super viral as I sit here. I'm not really sure if things are going to sell out at midnight like the old days, but in case that does happen, I wanted to bring that up. So with that out of the way, I'm going to try to go through these things sort of rapid fire because it's a lot. I filled this entire shoebox and it's spilling over onto my desk. So I have a lot of things to cover and I tend to run my mouth. So I'm going to do my best to rein that in. I should start by saying that I have dry, mature skin. I am 41 years old, which is still surreal. I don't really know how that happened, but here we are. I also don't have any Botox or anything going on in my face right now, so when I talk about things settling into fine lines and wrinkles, I have a full face of that to test that with. So sometimes I do think that is helpful information to have. My skin tone is light medium neutral, ever so slightly leaning cool, and all of my swatches are done on bare skin. I also have some sensitivities that are not so common. So my number one sensitivity is phenoxyethanol. Ever since clean beauty hit the market and became all the rage, I started having issues with some of the newer preservative systems that have replaced the older ones that worked for most people. I don't mean to imply that there's anything wrong with phenoxyethanol, but there is a small percentage of people that have a reaction to it. So it burns my face and I've had to start avoiding it. I will say when it comes to makeup, that's not really an issue. It's mostly in skincare where I see that preservative. The other ingredient that I personally have a sensitivity to is denatured alcohol. That typically is found in some of the foundations that are marketed as being self-setting because the denatured alcohol helps it dry down and have a nice smooth finish that you don't need to add powder to. So some amount of people with dry skin actually get on great with that because it removes the need to add powder on top, and who doesn't want that if you have dry skin? Well, if you have a compromised barrier, you may unfortunately be like me and just not react well. It also burns a little bit and it dries my skin out by the end of the day. Typically, when it's in a foundation formulated for dry skin, it doesn't happen right away. But over several hours, especially around my chin, I will get some peeling. Now, part of this is because I'm on prescription tretinoin. I have cystic acne and aging skin, so I love my tretinoin and I'm not giving that up for anything in the world, but it has definitely increased my sensitivity to those two ingredients in particular. To my knowledge, I'm not really sensitive to anything else. I don't really have a problem with fragrance, and I think I'm okay with most essential oils. Sometimes some of the citrus ones get me, but for the most part, it's just those two. The other thing I wanted to mention before getting into this was to pay attention to sites like Rakuten, Be Frugal, and Top Cashback, because often during these sales, they also increase their percentage cash back to stay competitive, and you can get a decent decent savings. I know I did that for the first time last year. I actually took the time to do 100% of my Christmas shopping using those sites. A lot of them have apps. They make it very easy. You go on, you hit the link, and you sign in to your account, and then you just shop as normal. And I'm pretty sure last holiday season, I ended up getting like $200 back. That was all doing my personal and holiday shopping in about 3 months. So that's a decent savings. I think the only downside is I don't think you can use them with influencer affiliate links. So that might be why not too many influencers talk about using the cashback sites, because I'm pretty sure they pull from the same money that's sort of built into product prices that goes towards marketing, whether that's affiliate links or promotions. Alice in the Rabbit Hole, who is my go-to for all things skincare, is the person that really does the best job explaining how that works, and she reminds me every sales season to actually do it, because the biggest reason I don't utilize that cashback is just I forget. I'm shopping and I don't take the time to leave the website or the app and go back in through Rakuten, Be Frugal, or Top Cashback. Those are the 3 that I use. And sometimes during these sales, I've seen up to 10 to 15% cashback, which is just nuts. So I highly recommend looking into those if you haven't done it yet. Okay, and I think that's it. So now I'm going to jump into the makeup, and I'm going to talk about all of this stuff in the order that I do my makeup, just to keep things simple so I don't get confused and leave anything out. So I guess realistically, I would start with skincare, except over the past few years, I've really stopped buying any skincare at Sephora. I just don't think they have the best prices. The one exception to that is if I want to buy something and I'm concerned that I'm going to have an allergic reaction to it, then I will buy it at Sephora so I know that I can return it easily. I would say that is something that is more relevant to people who have sensitivities. If you really don't have sensitivities and most things will work for you, and it just comes down to stuff like cosmetic elegance and pilling, you can usually see that in a review and you might be safe not having to worry about needing to return it. The one exception would be gift sets. I know Sephora sometimes does have good deals on gift sets that aren't always found other places. I have fallen out of love with like the Sephora favorites sets, for example, but that's only because of how much stuff I have. I think if you're newer to skincare or makeup, the Sephora sets do make a lot of sense, and I do recommend that. Otherwise, I think you would be much better buying skincare directly from their own website. You're bound to get at least 25% off. I know that's definitely true with like Tatcha and Pharmacy. They have really, really good end of year sales, much better than Sephora. So because of that, I'm going to jump to makeup prep. Gone are the days where I buy the Bobbi Brown face base. I mean, actually, I'm sensitive to that one now, but I used to always go out of my way to get a dedicated skincare primer for dry skin in particular. And I've tried so many. I've tried the NARS Light Reflecting, the Bobbi Brown, Victoria Beckham, the Freck Beauty, like so many primers. And at the end of the day, I wind up just using a moisturizer. So as much as I hate to admit this, the Divine Skin from Pat McGrath is actually my favorite makeup prep. Now they don't sell the moisturizer at Sephora, which I'm pretty disappointed by because I would be getting that during the sale. I just finished one and I'm pretty sure it's the glowiest moisturizer that I've ever used in my entire life. And I only use glowy moisturizers, so that is saying something. I would say the next best thing is the Divine Rose Essence. This they do have at Sephora. This has a very similar finish. This is slightly thinner, so that could be appealing to you if you have a good moisturizer and you don't need another moisturizer. You can just add this on top, and this will definitely add a layer of glow underneath your makeup. It's by phase, so it separates. This is the liquid, this is the creamy bit. You shake it up, and it's just a nice lightweight moisturizer. Not totally worth it at full price. You can find other things like the Bioma, for example. They have a barrier repair moisturizer that costs a fraction of this and has a similar finish, but I still prefer this at the end of the day. So it's a worthwhile splurge if you want that finish. If you like the Rhode Glazing Milk, if you like the Tier, you will like this too. So I am putting that out there because it's the best alternative to those that I found that doesn't have anything that I'm sensitive to in it. I'm also in this section going to throw fragrance in because it doesn't really fit anywhere else, and I only have 3 to really speak about. So to give you an idea of fragrance is so personal. To give you an idea of what I like, YSL Black Opium. Like, that's my favorite. That's been my favorite for the longest time. It's not the strongest. It doesn't have the best longevity. I have the Le Parfum version, and I still feel like it doesn't last that long. So I'm always looking for an alternative that maybe has more staying power. I have really fallen in love with Commodity Milk and Commodity Gold. I vacillate between which one I like better, but if you like vanilla, but if you like more of a spicy, deeper, sexier version of vanilla, I think you would probably like both of these. I also really like Fleur Vanilla Skin. I bought the perfume, but I found that it wasn't any stronger than the body mist. So I would recommend getting the body mist since it's a better price. I think it's worth getting Commodity and Fleur at Sephora because they're already pretty reasonably priced. I would say if you're getting any of the designer perfumes though, I would not buy those at Sephora. Like, I don't buy my Black Opium at Sephora because you can definitely get those at a better deal at other retailers. All right, now we're getting into the makeup. So I'm going to start with eye primer. Realistically, the one I use the most is not sold at Sephora. That's the MAC Paint Pot, but alternatively, I use the NARS Hot Concealer. I have Light 2.5 Creme Brulee, and what I like about this is it does a nice job blanking out my eyelid without being too emollient, but it also doubles as a really good pimple cover. When I have really bad acne, I don't like to use the more liquidy concealers because frankly, I just don't think they stay put that well. I think they wipe away way too easily, whereas this is super concentrated and it stays put. So this is a multitasker and I really like it. It's what I have on my eyes today as primer. I also like the Urban Decay Primer Potion. I have the anti-aging one and I don't notice any real anti-aging properties from this, but it is moisturizing and I need that because I have dry eyelids like I have dry everything else. So depending on what you're looking for, I like both of these a lot. This one is obviously less color correcting as on me it's mostly clear, but it may help slightly more with creasing. Also to mention during the priming step is when I start my makeup, right after moisturizer, I put on the Lawless Forget the Filler. This is my favorite lip mask. I've tried so many, and this is my favorite one that has a little bit of plumping. The one that I like to wear overnight is from Ole Henriksen. I've tried every flavor at this point. I like every single one except for the cocoa one. That one tasted like blood to me. But the creme brulee is probably my favorite, but I love all of these. You can probably get both of these for a better discount elsewhere. Ulta just had these 50% off, and GMA Deals has Lawless products 50% off quite frequently. So I wouldn't necessarily tell you to get this from Sephora, but if you really need a plumping lip mask, I would be remiss not to mention this one. Eyeliner. The eyeliner that I use in my bottom waterline every single day of my life is the Makeup Forever Boundless Bisque. I am finally going to buy another one during this sale because as you can see, I am rapidly going through this. I've tried other versions of this. I know like Tarte Fake Awake, and there's a few others that I've bought over the years, but I just always go back to this formula because it's just the Goldilocks for me. It stays put while being creamy enough to blend out. It's completely non-irritating, and it's the perfect color. This definitely makes my eyes feel bigger in my opinion, so I will continue to use this every single day. This can be used around my brows to clean up, especially along the edges of my eye. I don't do traditional wings with liner. I do sort of the inverse wing liner where I put a blob of eyeshadow on the corner of my eye and then I blend it out with my finger. So because I always do my eye makeup first, that's easy because my face is very emollient. So if there's any fallout, I can just wipe it away. It's super easy, and I can do the same with my eye makeup. I can make a wing with my finger. Sometimes though, that can still look a little bit messy. So I use this underneath and I just sort of clean it up and make it a little bit more crisp. I can also do that around my eyebrow to just make my lines look a little cleaner. The other thing that I use around my eyebrow is this from Benefit. I clearly need a new one of this because I also use this every day. I know these were popular for a while and they sort of fell out of favor. I'm not sure why, because I really love them and they're so much easier to work with in my opinion than concealer because they wipe away to almost nothing. So I'll do my eye makeup and and then it's kind of like a big eyeliner that's super creamy. I just pop some under my brow and wipe it away. I mean, essentially I wipe it away so there's none left, but it just softens everything up so that I don't have any harsh lines. And I personally just really appreciate that look. That's what I'm always trying to achieve. For brows, my preference is the Benefit Pomade. I used to use the pencils. I used to take the time to draw in individual hairs, but honestly, I just got tired and I got sick of doing that. I am hair challenged. I don't have a lot of it anywhere, so this just makes faster work of things. I put a bunch in, I comb it out, and I'm done. I will never sit here and try to tell you that it looks the best, but if you hate doing your brows and you want to get through them faster, you might be interested in one of these. I don't think it needs to be from Benefit. Plenty of brands make something just like this, but I recommend giving it a try. But you should probably listen to other people when it comes to brows and hair in general. When it comes to other eyeliners, my favorite is probably actually from the Sephora brand. Their duochrome liners are fantastic. I have left mine in the other room, but I have the pink one and it's gorgeous. I really hope they restock them because I want to get all of them. I would have bought them already, but they're constantly out of stock. So if you see any of those, I highly recommend snapping them up because I know I'm not the only one. They're popular for a reason. They're very good. When it comes to other eyeliners, I don't usually bother. I usually stick with eyeshadow, except for along my lash line. Because I do wear fake lashes every day, I always like to put a little bit of black liquid eyeliner or just around my lash line. My favorite is actually the Tom Ford one. Even though that price is obnoxious, it lasts forever. So outside of that one, which genuinely I would say if you have a cosmetic company store around you, check there for that. Even 20% off is insane. Outside of that, I just sort of use whatever, the KVD one, whatever happens to be on sale, because I'm not even using it to make a wing. So almost all of them work for me. I feel very similar to mascara. I put lashes on, so I'll use whatever. My most recent favorite from Sephora was probably the Tower 28, although that one didn't last that long for me. So probably Benefit Roller Lash would be my next choice. For lashes, my favorite lashes at Sephora are the Lily Half Lashes. I have Sassy and Dreamy, and I love these. They're subtle. I can use them with sunglasses on my face. I don't have to cut them. I just pop them on and go on with my day, and I can't say enough about these lashes. Sometimes they're included on the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty for 50% off, but not always. So I think this would be a worthy item to pick up during the Sephora sale. 20% off is better than nothing. Now we're going to move on to eyeshadow. So my number one pick, which most people probably could have guessed, is the new Danessa Myricks Lightwork 7. I am in love with this palette. That's what's on my eyes today, and I like this year's edition. Granted, I would be a little bit disappointed if I didn't have the other Lightworks because this one is a lot more subdued, but because I do own those, I feel like I have the rainbow colors covered. I'm more interested in something like this for more everyday. I'm also really happy with the inclusion of mattes, and I will be doing a separate review of just this palette, hopefully in the next few weeks. It's been tough to find the time, but I really want to do a dedicated review to this because it really is deserving of that. My one critique would be maybe instead of including both of these purples, which are very similar in color when they're on the eyes, I wish we either had a different tone here or a deeper matte brown. Alternatively, I just wish this brown was deeper. These two tones are some of my favorite for defining shades on my particular skin tone. I'm also really happy with the inclusion of the gray and the black, but I feel like to really deepen out or smoke out my outer corner, I feel like I have to include the black. And sometimes I just would prefer a deeper brown, and this one doesn't really get me there. It's just not quite deep enough. So my one critique has to do with the mattes, which can be easily fixed by just grabbing another palette, which I often do anyway. I don't mind that. I'm just being nitpicky at this point, but I definitely recommend this. It's my favorite release of the year. That used to be the Mothership palettes. That is no longer the case. I still buy them, I still review them, but without the special shades, they're not special anymore, and I don't feel like the color stories are all that imaginative. So this, with the convertible packaging, is hands down, point blank period, my favorite eyeshadow release of the entire year. It's unlikely you're going to see it at a better discount, so I cannot recommend this enough. If that palette is just a little bit too out there for you, my second recommendation is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. This is an absolute workhorse, and if you have similar skin tone to me, this might be your perfect nude palette. That's how I feel about it. I feel like this is my perfect nude palette. This is probably the palette that I've used in my collection more than any other palette, so much so that I have multiple pans, so I actually don't even reach for it anymore because it's hard to get some of the shade. I should replace it. I'm not quite there yet, but at some point I will consider doing that because I like this palette that much. It also makes a really nice gift. I wanted to take a minute and talk about this palette because it is actually one that I bought when it first released, and I ended up returning it because in my mind I thought it would be very similar to the color story in I Need a Nude, and in practice it wasn't for me. And between that and the formula being a little bit different, instead of her traditional mattes, this is more of a creamy matte. I mean, there's multiple formulas in this palette, but a lot of them are creamy, and it's just not my preference. It wasn't bad. I was able to use it successfully, and honestly, if I liked the colors of it more, I would have kept it, even though it wasn't my perfect formula. I would have used it despite that. But the colors just weren't neutral or a cool tone enough for me, which is funny because in the marketing, it kind of does look like my perfect palette, but once I got it on my skin, I really didn't like it. So much so that I felt that I wasn't gonna ever reach for it. So that's why I ended up returning it, and I normally don't do that, so that means I was really unhappy, and I thought I would mention that. I don't think everybody would be. I don't think this would be a bad thing to buy, especially at 20% off. I think it's a good price for what you're getting. But I think it's a color story that will work for a ton of people. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit cooler, I would say you might find better luck elsewhere. And again, I would recommend I Need a Nude way more than this. My second recommendation to that would be the Natasha Denona Mini. If you can see, I have pans in this as well because pretty much no matter what, as soon as I put my eye primer on, I like to set it with this skin tone shade. And I know a ton of people use setting powder, and I probably should because I have more setting powder than I know what to do with, and I'll never get through it all in this lifetime. I should probably start doing that. But for some reason, I feel like when it's formulated as eyeshadow, it just works slightly better. And for that reason, I just always prefer to grab this. And up until a few days ago, I was reaching for this exclusively every day. Now I am forcing myself to reach for other things. The two other matte palettes that I have in my collection is this one from Patrick Ta. Not my favorite formula. It's just a little bit powdery, and I feel like it overblends. It'll work fine in a pinch, and it's not horrible. It's just not my favorite. Next to the Natasha Denona mattes, my second favorite at Sephora is probably the Makeup by Mario. I also really like the tones in this palette, so this is my new everyday eye base palette, but I still recommend these more. Other new eyeshadow at Sephora is the Pat McGrath Holiday. This was fine, but I don't really think you need this. Pat is not doing sales like she used to, but she still might do a better sale than 20% off, so I would either wait for that or maybe consider this if you like the shade selection better than the Danessa Myricks. Even though these aren't new, I thought it was worth mentioning the YSL quads because I think these make fantastic gifts. They're very easygoing. My two favorite are Babylon Rose and Stora Dolls. The toppers in these are really spectacular and they work really well on mature skin. They're lightweight. I mean, the packaging is not as impressive as it may look, but I still think these are beautiful and always worth mentioning. I don't use a lot of liquid eyeshadow or sticks, but if I were to reach for a stick, I definitely recommend the Danessa Myrick Color Fix stick. I have this in the combination 01, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. I'm going to definitely try another combo. I don't like paying full price for something that I don't use that often, but I can justify it on sale, and it's fun. It's definitely the most fun I've ever had with an eyeshadow stick. As far as liquid eyeshadows go, my favorite are the Giorgio Armani. I have 67 27S, which is super sparkly, like a champagne-y color, and I really like that one. And I also have 32S, which it's funny because it looks periwinkle and you can definitely build it up to see the color, but you can also sheer it out in a way that makes it look like it's just a super impactful silver shimmer. So I would say consider this if you like shimmer, but maybe don't expect the purple to show up, unless maybe if you put this over another base, you may be able to see the purple color more. But I bought this for the sparkles, just like most things. I've never tried the matte versions, but I heard those are good as well. Speaking of sparkly things, I have to give a quick shout out to the Patrick Todd duos. I did pick these up when they were new to the market, and I enjoyed them. I kind of got a bug up my butt because I kept comparing them to the Pat McGrath special shades, and in my opinion, they didn't quite live up to those. But let's be real, I mean, she's not making those anymore. So I'm happy to have anything on the market that's even remotely similar to those. It feels like a similar formula. It's definitely not an exact match, but if you like those, you will probably like these as well. None of the colors really jumped out at me this year, but I did want to mention them because they are impressive, and if you're looking for something like this, it might be worth considering these as well. Next up is foundation. So my two favorite foundations are the Chanel #1, not sold at Sephora, and the NARS Light Reflecting, that is sold at Sephora. I have tried almost every glowy, geared toward dry skin, new and exciting foundation that Sephora has. Too many to name here, but rest assured, if it's glowy and popular, I have tried it, and I can tell you unequivocally, nothing has come close to beating my NARS Light Reflecting foundation. Why do I keep trying all of them, do you ask? It's the shade match. I don't have a perfect shade in NARS, and I feel like I've tried like 10 different shades at this point, and I always end up needing to mix them to Frankenstein my own shade. Luckily, I don't need to buy more than two, but I usually always need to buy at least two and mix my own. So if you're a skin twin, unfortunately, I really don't have a shade recommendation in this, but I love this formula. I really absolutely adore it. Recently, I've also tried the Victoria Beckham, the Makeup by Mario. I also recommend going in store to get shade match and asking for a sample because they give very generous samples at Sephora, and I appreciate that. Foundation and concealer are two things that I try to always buy from Sephora because if I have an issue with either the formula or the shade, I want the peace of mind that I can return it. I really think that's why this sale is still popular, because they have all of these expensive things and you want some kind of safety net. That's how I feel anyway. That safety net really matters. So it matters for everything, but I would say more than anything else, it matters for complexion products for me. So I wanted to mention that as well. Although I don't really like Sephora for eyeshadow, I like it for pretty much everything else, chief among them being foundation. The Makeup by Mario ended up drying me out. The Victoria Beckham foundation didn't really work for me, and the Natasha Denona was a fail as well. Both the Natasha and the Makeup by Mario was because of denatured alcohol, so that may work for other people. The Makeup by Mario, I would recommend trying if you like a more natural finish. If you want a super light coverage, I think you might like this. This didn't quite do it for me when it came to covering all of my sunspots and acne spots. Like, I like something that has a little more to it. Even the Chanel #1 has more coverage in my opinion than the Makeup by Mario. The NARS is like a light medium, but it can easily be built up, and I have too much to cover to put concealer all over my face, so I really do like something that at least gives me a medium coverage. The NARS Light Reflecting does that. The Natasha was more full coverage, it was more perfecting, but it dried me out, so I couldn't stick with that either. And yeah, it's been years and years, but this is still #1. When it comes to concealer, my absolute #1 is the Ceracril. I actually have it in 2 shades. I have 1 and 3. One is more brightening, but I don't like to brighten too much under my eyes because I feel like it brings too much attention. So I like to mix a little bit of the 3 in the middle especially, just to sort of tone that down. I don't really think I need both. It really happened by accident that I ended up with 2 shades, but it's fine because I use this every single day and I will absolutely go through them. So Ceracril #1. Now I understand the price is kind of insane, so I wanted to mention some other ones that are very very honestly only a hair less good. Number one being the Natasha Denona concealer. That's why I had such high hopes for the foundation. I absolutely adore this. I have it in N4 and it's a really good shade for me. My other two favorites I wanted to mention together because I often would mix these when I wear these. I have the Kulfi in Ice Ice Berry and I have the Kosas in 2.3N. The reason I mix these is because the Kulfi is a better shade, but sometimes it looks a little bit too hydrating, if that's even possible, and it can almost look shiny. So I'd sort of combat that with the Kosas, which is not as good of a shade match. It leads a little bit yellow on me. The finish of this is my ideal finish. Just like with not wanting my under eyes to be too bright, I don't want them to be too reflective or shiny either. This is one of my biggest problem areas, and I want them to sort of disappear. I don't want to highlight them in any way. So that's why I mix them. In all reality, I could use the Kulfi with a little powder and it would be fine. But since I have both, that's just how I personally use them. But I really think highly of all four of these. I don't think you need to spend the Ceracril prices to get that kind of a finish. Fortunately, these three do basically the same thing, which is pretty crazy. I have a video back from when I first got the Ceracril where I did a wear test. So I would do one eye with the Ceracril, one with the Natasha, and one with the Kosas, and one with the Kulfi. So I had side-by-side photos. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it together to find those photos, but I will at least try to link my video in the description box so you can look further into this if you really want to. I was really big on wear tests, especially when I first found these favorites. I compared things and I have a lot of close-up photos, but this is sort of the Cliff Notes version of that, if you will. Point being though, that these are tried and true tested favorites. Now on to contour. My favorite contour is Westman Atelier Biscuit. I know a lot of people will argue that it's not a true contour because it's not gray enough. I do also have the Sephora brand powder contour, and I do like that. If I am ever experimenting with a more sculpted look, I'll pick that one out of my collection. But for a day-to-day, easygoing, super simple, just a little bit more defined look, I'm grabbing this. And I really prefer the minis because I don't feel like I have to commit to a full size. I'm really happy that Westman Atelier offers that, especially in the blush. Like, I'll never go through even a mini blush. With contour, it's a little bit different because I'm using the same one every day, and I'm gonna pick another one of these up because I am very close to pan, which I'm proud of that. I should probably get a full size, but I think I'm just a little nervous that I'm gonna wanna try something else and then I'm stuck with a full size when I could have just gotten this for $30. These sell out a lot, so I would say don't forget about this guy if it's on your wish list. I was this close to trying the new Dior contour stick very recently. I saw it on sale. It was like 20% off at some department store, and I almost got it, but the reason I didn't, I pulled out last minute, was I saw a review where she was comparing that to this, and when she blended that one out on her face, it blended out beautiful, but it got warmer. Like, the color changed a little bit, and I am so grateful that she noticed that and got footage of it, because to me, that's the difference. This stays the same color, so it's more of a cool tone bronzer, but at least it stays a cool tone bronzer. I would be really disappointed if I used this and it started warming up. It would just defeat the purpose of what I bought it for. So as beautiful as that formula looks, I think this is a better bet for me personally. When it comes to bronzers, I prefer something with a redder base. So my favorite is the Gucci. I had shade 2 in the past and it was too deep for me. So I finally gifted that and I picked up shade 1 for myself, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, if I don't use the right brush, sometimes it can be a little bit stampy, but as long as I use something that's fluffy enough, I think this blends out beautifully, and I just think it complements my skin tone. I don't think you need to spend this much on a bronzer. I think the Makeup by Mario ones are really great, and they're very neutral, so I don't feel like they're too warm or too cool. They're kind of that perfect sweet spot. My favorite one from him to use, especially during the summer when I want to just bring a little bit more bronze to my whole face, is the Skin Enhancer. I have light medium. This one is very sheer, but it is emollient and it just kind of leaves a pretty glow all over. But again, I don't feel like I need both. Me personally, I like the Gucci better, but if you're looking for something more neutral, I would highly recommend these. I also really like the Charlotte Tilbury, the Film Star Bronze and Glow. I've gone through so many of these at this point. I hate the highlighter. I don't use the highlight in this. I wish that I could get this exact bronzer separately. Unfortunately, they don't want to sell it that way. So because I only use one side, I always get the mini. I couldn't justify the price point only using half of it. And don't get me wrong, I mean, the highlighter is fine. It's just, I like something a little bit more impactful. So that's my only problem with this having both. But I'll probably pick up yet another one during the sale. I use this to bridge the gap. So first I put on my contour, then I put this on, and then I follow that with my bronzer, so everything looks sort of married together. There's no dirt marks or streaks on my face, I guess. And frankly, it could be all in my head. Maybe I don't need to add this and it's just another product, but I've been doing it this way for so long that I just keep doing it. Maybe I could do the same thing with a clean brush, just buff everything together. I could probably get away with that. But just because it's my personal truth and I've gone through so many of these, I couldn't not mention it. So again, I don't feel like you need this, but if you are looking for a really lightweight, easygoing bronzer, I would highly recommend giving this one a look. All right. Blush, everybody's favorite. So I had trouble because I really don't have a clear favorite here. I would say when it comes to color, my favorite is probably a combination of two from Westman Atelier, which I have these two minis. I have Petal and Mimi, and my favorite color in the world is mixing these together. And I really like the formula. I feel like it's easygoing, it doesn't move things around, it's hydrating without being shiny or greasy. It's just a solidly good formula, and I'm not sure what the gift sets are like this year, but I got both of these in a set. Fabulous value. Again, the minis are great. I can't recommend them enough. But if you really told me I could only pick one, I think I would have to pick the same one that I picked last year, which was the Patrick Ta and Not Too Much. I haven't been the biggest Patrick Ta fan in the past couple years. I think they've come out with quite a few misses. But this blush is just good. It's just easygoing. It's good. It's what's on my face today. I really do like the color combination of the powder with the neutral pink sort of sheer topper. I think that makes a really pretty plump cheek look. I really like this blush, and I'm happy to see that they're starting to come out with minis. I've only seen one shade so far, but I know the brand have said that they're coming out with more in the future. So at the very least, I would keep an eye on those. I don't like this enough where I want 7 other shades of it, but this is my perfect neutral everyday pink, and I love it so much I can't possibly leave it out. Another formula that I tried last year actually was from Rhode, and since they sell at Sephora now, I can mention them. I have the blushes in Toasted Teddy and Freckle, and I may pick up another one. This is a formula thing. I really like this formula. It's hydrating without being too emollient. Like, I tried recently the Pat McGrath. I got the mini blushes in the holiday gift set, and it's a formula that seems like it would be similar to this one, but it's just not executed quite as well, if that makes sense. So this is a good formula. It's something that I could live without, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Another one that I think is worth mentioning, and this has more to do with color, is the Charlotte Tilbury, the Pillow Talk, the Matte Beauty Blush Wand. This color is just so cool. It's like my perfect neutral mauvey pink. I love this so much. I also wanted to mention this. If you are somebody who is always saying things like, my face eats blush, you gotta try this because I'm going to show footage. This is after I did all of my blush swatches, so all up my arm, and I was using dish soap with a paper towel to wash them off. As you can see, it washed all of the other blushes off very easily, as you would expect. This stayed put, and I knew from wearing this on my face, obviously, I knew this was a very pigmented blush that stuck around and performed really well for a long period of time. I don't think I realized how much better it stuck around compared to other blushes blushes until washing them off and having to go back in and really scrub this. Now, I will say, once I added more dish soap, it came off easily. It didn't stain my arm or rub my skin raw or anything like that. It was just clearly more tenacious than really anything else that I had experienced, and I was doing a lot of swatches the other day. So I want to give credit to this for that. I would definitely look into this if they have any colors that are interesting to you. I really do like this a lot. Again, top spot goes to Patrick Ta and Westman Atelier, but Rhode and Charlotte Tilbury both get honorable mentions. Another product that I wanted to mention at this point that has to do with the contour, bronzer, and blush category that went viral last year during this time for the Sephora sale was these little duos from Westman Atelier. I got Petal and Biscuit because I have the cream versions of Petal and Biscuit, and I love both of those, so I figured might as well try this. And listen, I would be lying if I said this was horrible. It's not. It's certainly not horrible. However, the colors are a little bit different, so I notice it more with Biscuit than Petal, but this is more of a bronzer in the powder and it's cooler in the stick. So where I use this in my routine, I can't really replace it with this. Don't get me wrong, I could in a pinch, but it's not my preference, and I don't like either of these enough to reach for it almost ever. I mean, I never use this thing, and it was so expensive that I want to warn anybody who's been on the fence. If you really like the cream versions, I would say stick with those. You don't need to try this. It's just not that special. It's not super blurring. I didn't find the color options to be the best, so I was personally just sort of trying this because I wanted to try it, and it wound up not being the best investment for me personally. Also, you can find Westman Atelier for 20% off at multiple retailers. I don't think you're going to get much more than 20% off, but if you aren't Rouge, I mean, honestly, if you're not Rouge, I don't think you should shop this sale. You can get better deals elsewhere. But if you're not Rouge, you can get the same discount even right now. I think they're 20% off at least one retailer, so definitely never pay full price for any of their products. All right, now we're up to highlighter. So I think other than eyeshadow, the only category of makeup at Sephora that I don't buy a ton of is highlighters for some reason. I don't know if it's just me. Maybe highlighters are less popular than they used to be. I did last holiday sale try one of the Dior highlighters that went super viral. I think it was a big gelée and a lot of people liked it. I ended up returning it because I was so underwhelmed, so desperately underwhelmed that I just wanted to get my money back. I think I tried that and the Dior foundation stick. I liked the foundation stick. It didn't really work with my acne. I had some texture issues with it, but generally I liked that foundation. I didn't like the highlighter though. I just felt like it left a little bit of a cast, almost like a gray cast, and I wasn't impressed. So that was probably the last highlighter that I actually bought from Sephora. Prior to that, I had picked this one up from House Labs. I have it in Sunstone, and it's nice. It's what I have on today. It's a pretty highlighter. It doesn't knock my socks off, but I like the color and I like the formula, so I wanted to mention it as being my top pick from Sephora. Outside of Sephora, my actual favorite highlighters are the Hindash. So Doll Dynasty, this super beautiful rosy gold tone. This is my favorite highlighter right now. Hands down, no contest. Number 2 is my Pat McGrath, my special edition highlighters that you can't just buy because they're special edition. So I don't even want to mention which one because it's irrelevant. But these Big Gelée highlighters in general from Pat McGrath, they are my favorite. Next to the Hindash from Sephora, I'm going to have to give it to House Labs with an honorable mention to Fenty How Many Carats. I'm mentioning this because I guess technically it's a highlighter. I don't use it like that though. I use this on my eyes. I wanted to mention it though because it's a product from Sephora that I can't dupe anywhere else, and it's the best version of what it is. This is like the original Makeup by Mario Etherealized palette on steroids. This is pure shimmer in a clear base, and it's my favorite wet look eyeshadow of all time. It beats Space Cowboy, it beats YSL, it even beats the new Dolce & Gabbana eyeshadows. This is my #1 holy grail wet look eyeshadow, and I should have mentioned it with eyeshadows, but I forgot, so I'm mentioning with highlighters because, I mean, technically it is a highlighter. But if you want a special occasion, extra dimension sparkle, look no further because this is a multitasker and I absolutely love it. So House Labs for my cheeks, but Fenty How Many Carats for multi-purpose. All right, the end is in sight. We are at face powder. So I could go on this category. I have tried probably 100 different face powders because of my dry skin and my affinity for shiny things. I want to control the shine, which means I want to put something under my eyes and in my T-zone so that I can look hydrated without being sweaty. I have gone through a lot to pick my favorite powder, but it's been my favorite for a few years now. Despite trying more recent things, my favorite is actually the Hourglass Dim Light. I first discovered this in the Hourglass palettes, like most of us. I still recommend those if you don't have them. I was not impressed with this year's enough to even want one, but I have 4 already. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't pick one up during the sale. If you don't have the bigger Hourglass palette, now is a great time to get it. But if you own several and want to skip it, I think that's fine too. And they have a lot of minis. I don't know that they have every shade, but they have the finishing powders. And my personal favorite is Dim Light. I'm hitting pan. I'm going to need another one of these, but this is just like a neutral, mostly sheer powder. There's no like detectable sparkle, but there is a little bit of a sheen to it, so it's not totally matte. So I can use this, especially under my eyes. I feel like it does a really good job. If I'm really shiny though, I'll actually grab for the Kosas, the Cloud Set. I have a few of these. I keep trying to replace it, but I keep coming back to it because it's one of the easiest no fuss powders that I've ever tried. I wanted to love the Givenchy. So my favorite powder before it was discontinued, like a lot of people, was the Givenchy, the loose powder in the 4 quadrants. I'm sure you've seen the whole debacle with that. They reformulated it, now it's too sparkly. I did try it and it was in fact too sparkly even for me. So I was really happy when they came out with this pressed version that there's no sparkle. This is the closest thing we have to the original. That being said, on me, this can still be a little bit too drying. So between this and the Hourglass, I'm gonna mostly wanna reach for the Hourglass. I will reach for this if I feel like I'm having a really good skin day and I'm not too dry, then I can get away with this, but it didn't turn out to be the perfect solution. I think when I first bought this, I really thought it was. I really thought finally I had a replacement for my Holy Grail powder, but over time that just wound up not really being the case. These two still work the best for me. I am an extreme case though, I will say. Most people will probably get on fine with this one instead, and I feel like you could use this for both under eyes and full face and buy 1 powder instead of 2. I wouldn't dismiss this just because it didn't work for me personally. All right, now we're at lips. So I already talked about the lip masks. Now I'm going to talk about a hybrid sort of product between a lip mask and a lip color. That is the Candy Glaze, the YSL Candy Glaze. I am 100% picking up one of the holiday editions because I have 2 of these and I use the crap out of them in the winter time. These are so hydrating. However, I don't think they're a perfect product because they can be a little bit too thick for some amount of people. And for during the day, I actually prefer the Love Shine. YSL just had a friends and family 25% off sale. So I got a new Love Shine. I got the shade 202. This is my new favorite color from YSL. It's really easygoing. You can put it on with no mirror and not worry. It's the perfect hybrid somewhere in between a lip gloss and a lipstick. It's like that perfect middle ground where it's super hydrating, but it's not too pigmented that you're worried about it getting anywhere. It's sort of my desert island lip product. Like if you told me I was going to have to go move to a desert island and I only got one product for my lips for day and night, but I also wanted to look good. Because like, I mean, realistically, I would probably go with the Ole Henriksen, but I was also going to be dressing up on this island. So I would need something to work both as a night lip treatment and a daytime lip treatment. I would go with this. It lives in my purse exclusively. It's my absolute favorite. I love the Love Shine in 202, but I also love the Candy Glaze when it comes to hydration. While I'm talking about YSL lip products, I guess I'll also talk about the gloss. This is fine. This is shade 1. I'm not sure if there's a name for it, but it's a really cool shade. That's what got me. I like needed to try this super pretty purpley pink sparkle, sheer but dimensional. It's a fun lip gloss. No two ways about it. It's not my favorite though. My top spot for lip gloss is actually Patrick Ta, and she's expensive. Because of this, I also thought it was worth mentioning his gift sets with blush and lip gloss. The lip gloss doesn't get a lot of attention, but it is really pretty. I like this shade in particular because I've never seen a lip gloss that's nude like this, that is basically goldy shimmer, nude gold, that has this level of shimmer while still being comfortable to wear on the lips. So this is my number 1. My number 2 goes to the Giorgio Armani. I have this in shade 7. This is the Prisme lip glass, I think. And this is just a cool color. It's nude, but it has multicolor sparkles in it. There's blue and pink, and it's not super noticeable. Don't get me wrong. You're not gonna put this on and people think you have iridescent multicolor lip gloss on. It's very subtle. But there's something about it that makes your lips look a little bit more dimensional because of the different color shimmers in it. It's really hard to explain, but it's a really cool effect, and it's a nice gloss. It's a nice, comfortable gloss. It's what's on my lips today. It's not like a life-changing formula by any means, but it is cool. And if you have too many lip glosses like I do, and you want something that just adds that little bit of extra something different, I think you might have fun with this. So these two are my top 2 lip glosses. My favorite lipstick, I guess in reality, is MAC. I have 8 billion lipsticks. I don't love any of them, but my favorite is probably from MAC. My number 2 would be this one from Guerlain. This is somewhat new to my collection. This is the 521 shade that I think sold out initially. I was able to get it on sale at Macy's, so it probably will come back in stock in Sephora because I think it's a shade that's doing really well for them, but I love the color. It's very hydrating and comfortable on the lips. The case is an extra bonus. I think this is a really fun case, and you can get it in multiple styles. They also have matte lipsticks to choose from, but obviously that's newer to my collection, so I haven't loved this for as long as that lipstick that's on my lips today, which is Charlotte Tilbury Wedding Bells. This is like a satin matte formula, and I don't like wearing it on its own, but I do like it with a good lip gloss. So today I have Wedding Bells with shade 7 Prismaglass, and I think it's a beautiful combination. I totally forgot to mention lip liners in this, but I also really like the Charlotte Tilbury lip liners. I think the Natasha ones are nice as well, but I think for shade for myself, Charlotte Tilbury is probably my favorite. I like a deeper lip liner because I feel like anything nude just washes me out. Like that's why I really dislike Pillow Talk. The shade Pillow Talk looks terrible on me. It pulls super orange. I look like I'm jaundiced. Like it's not a good look. So Wedding Bells is actually my perfect neutral from Charlotte Tilbury. It's like my personal version of Pillow Talk. It's just a little deeper and a little pinker. So these are my 2 top picks for lipstick. And finally, setting spray. I brought out my MAC Fix Plus just so I remembered to talk about setting spray. My favorite setting spray of all time is the Hourglass setting spray, which I have misplaced. I took it on a trip with me and I have no idea where it is. I haven't been able to find it since. It is very expensive. It is too expensive for what it is, but because of that, I have not bought another one. I know that I have it. That's the other thing. I would definitely be getting one during this sale. I know it's in my house somewhere, so I'm just gonna have to put some effort in. But what I like about it is it's hydrating without being too glowy and making my makeup run off my face. Like sometimes I can go go a little bit overboard with something like MAC Fix Plus and it can look just a little bit greasy. The Hourglass doesn't do that as much. And I don't need setting spray every day. I use it as a powder melting step. I don't use it for longevity. I have had several of the other setting sprays that do that. I think for longevity, All Nighter is probably my top pick, even though that's a whole thing that's been reformulated. I'm not sure about that anymore, but it didn't dry me out. The Charlotte Tilbury setting spray that people love so much, that one absolutely dries me out, so I can't recommend that. But if you have dry skin and you're looking for something that can just sort of make everything come together and not look as cakey, I would recommend trying the Hourglass. I don't think I'm the only one that likes it, and it's been in my top spot for several years now. Oh, and I forgot. So brushes, I don't buy a lot of brushes from Sephora, but I do think they have some really good ones. So the Sephora brand, the Pro line, I think exclusively. I think the Pro brushes are the only ones that I really like. But these to me are like exactly like the BK Beauty brushes. So if you're a big BK Beauty fan, highly recommend checking these out for 30% off. I have several for the face. I don't actually own any of the eye brush versions, but I've heard they're the same. They're just really good workhorse brushes that you don't have to be careful with. They can take a beating, they last forever, they're soft. So next to the Sephora eyeliners, this would be my top pick from the Sephora brand. 30% off for everyone during the entire sale that runs from the 31st for Rouge, or midnight EST, like most of us Rouge members know, on the 30th to November 10th. The sale opens on the 4th for all tiers. Speaking of items from the Sephora collection, so while I was editing this, my friend over at A Little Night Makeup on YouTube and Instagram posted this video, which is the most, like hands down, the most comprehensive video I have ever seen talking about the Sephora single eyeshadows. And they haven't gotten a lot of hype recently, but they're really good. Like, they deserve a lot more attention than what they get. What they don't have going for them is I don't think on the website they do a great job showing each color, and it can be confusing, especially trying to look at the different shades online. So this video is infinitely helpful. If you want to build your own palette and you want to do it at a good price without sacrificing any of the quality, I'd say this is the way to go, and I would use her video to do that. Watch it with a pen and paper and write down all of the shades that speak to you, and then you don't have to worry about getting confused the way I did trying to navigate through on the website. The other thing that she mentions, and I will reiterate, is if you can get to a Sephora, I would say it would be better to pick these up in person. Not only is it easier to see everything and make sure you're getting the right thing, but they come broken at least 50% of the time in my personal experience buying these. So rather than, and you can replace it, but rather than deal with all that, I would say these are much better to pick up in person. Several of the formulas are made in Italy, and they have a number of different finishes. So here we have glitter, shimmer, and matte, and I also own at least a handful of multi-chromes, so they have a lot going for them. I always think of this when I see tools like the Lethal Palette Builder, for example, where you can make a beautiful palette, but it's going to cost a fortune. This is a way to do that for much cheaper. Obviously, they don't have the extensive amount of shades that Lethal has, especially in the special finishes, but there are 51 here to choose from, and I think during the sale, the most expensive one is going to be like $5.50. It's also worth keeping an eye out because I've picked a lot of these up for like $2, because sometimes I guess, when they decide to change things up, they reduce the price even further, even for the special finishes. Just as an example, this is me wearing the shimmer shade First Light, and it's not chunky. As you can see, it's very smooth and it leaves a beautiful finish. And these are the other ones that I have in my personal collection. As you can see, half of them are broken, but whatever. I just press them back in and I use them anyway. I didn't bother to exchange them, but that's why it's best not to buy these online. I also threw in one of the lip shades, mostly to remind myself that these are pretty good as well. I think in order of importance, number one is probably, just because they're newer, the duochrome eyeliners from the Sephora brand, then the eyeshadows, then probably the lip products, and I also really like their contours, and I think the blush is okay too. So don't forget about the Sephora brand. They have the benefit of knowing what sells the best and what's popular, and they also have access to the best manufacturing, and they can offer it at the lowest price point. So I think it's really worth looking into, especially during this sale. And that is it. That is all of my top picks from every category in general and at Sephora. And now, very quickly, I'm going to go over my wish list. Last year, I also made a video going through the top sellers at Sephora and sort of giving my 2 cents about what I thought about those. So let me know if you would be interested in something like that. I'll also make videos after shopping, talking about my experience with what I bought, both first and long-term impressions, which I try to get up before the end of the sale. I've decided that I'm going to make a separate, more like a shop with me video to talk about what I really buy, but right now, what are the things that I'm considering? So number one, I was considering one of the Haus Labs contour sticks, but I'm sort of on the fence about it. I think I might instead just get another Westman Atelier mini and call it a day, but I was considering that. If you noticed, I didn't mention the NARS blush palette because as much as I like it, it's not top spot. So I was considering buying this during the 20% off sale if I couldn't get it at Ulta. I still think it's a good time to pick it up. If you're interested, the 20% off will probably be the best price on that because these are limited edition. We don't really know that they'll stick around for bigger sales, but that's a reasonable price and I've been pretty happy with that palette. I have the Gisou lip glosses on my wish list. I've taken it off because I bought one and it's just okay. It's just lip gloss. There's nothing that special about it, so that's no longer on my wish list. I also have the YSL Make Me Blush, the blush lip shine. I think this is a really good gift. I'm not going to buy this for myself because I think these blushes are just fine. They didn't really knock my socks off, so that's not something that I need, but I did think it was a nice enough gift to at least keep it on my watch list because I will be holiday shopping during this sale. One thing that I'm definitely getting is the YSL Holiday Candy Glaze. I just think it's really pretty. It's still a lot of money for what it is, but I like it enough that I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna skip on the gloss versions because I'm happy with the one I have. I don't really need these. I have some of the YSL quads as gift ideas. The Givenchy gloss is just pretty. It just looks pretty. I'm gonna skip it. I don't think I need this. I don't think I know anybody who needs this, but the packaging is aesthetically pleasing. The Dior, the Sequin Lip Duo. I know I'm gonna hate this. I know it's gonna dry my lips out, but if it comes back in stock, I'll probably end up getting it. I would never buy it full price because I know I'm gonna hate it. And the glitter is a gimmick. I have glitter in lip gloss that I can just put on top of the lipstick. Like, I don't need my lipstick to be the thing producing glitter, but I'm a child and there's just something about this that makes me really want it. So I do hope that that comes back in stock. I have these Guerlains. I bought that already. These Summer Fridays, so I have these on here as gift ideas. I bought this little lip set last year and I'm happy with it. But there's nothing about this gloss that I think is that special. I like the Ole Henriksen a lot better. So I would only recommend getting this either as a gift or if you really want to try one of the flavors. I have the little Prada lip set. You know, these are minis, so these are not the nice full-size versions. These are much chintzier than that, but you know, it's Prada, it's pretty. It could make a nice gift. The Row little gift set looks cute, possibly for my sister. Dew Skin, this little mini kit. I love Charlotte. I love her so much. I want to use all of her skincare, but there's phenoxyethanol, so I can't use really any of it. I still want to support her though, so I may get this for somebody else. I think these little Natasha Denona things would make really great gifts. I don't need them. I have all of these colors from her, but I think the packaging is cute, and I do think that would be a nice presentation as a gift. And yeah, that's it. So I will be doing a follow-up video on the Sephora sale. I'm going to try to keep it to just the 2 videos because I'm sure people are sick of hearing about the Sephora video. By the time I'm done editing this, my goal is to just get it up by Thursday because this video probably takes the longest to edit out of every video that I do in an entire year. But I want to include all of the B-roll, the swatches, and all of the prices to make it easier for people. I don't include links because I don't have affiliate links, but I try to make this as easy to navigate as possible. That being said, there's still a ton of this content out there, so I don't want to add too much to that. I just want to include all of my recommendations because I try so many things and I have such problematic skin. I think I might be able to at least help somebody save money by skipping some of the things that didn't work for me. So anyway, that is all from me today. Feel free to ask questions about anything down below, especially like a dry skin friendly foundation. There's a really good chance I may have tried it, even if I didn't mention it in this video. So feel free to ask questions. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much. If you've sat through to the end, I appreciate you. I hope you're taking care of yourself right now. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.